Hello and welcome listeners to our English program podcast Kaleidoscope. Listeners, our today's program is on the topic Cloud Mindset, an interview with computing author and researcher Aayush Kulkarni. Listeners, in today's technology-enabled world, there is something new every day to learn because of computers and about computers. We are continuously bombarded with new methods, language, applications, and emerging miracles that computers and internet can perform. And there are n number of people who have made computers their mission in life. Today, we are about to meet one such person. Aayush Kulkarni, who is still studying in the last year of engineering. He is on the path to perfect the soaring world of cloud computing and has already published 2 books regarding the same puzzling world. He has also published research papers that address various aspects of cloud computing. So listeners, let us delve into this world with Aayush. So first of all, Aayush, welcome to our English program podcast Kaleidoscope.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So Aayush, firstly, please enlighten the unversed about cloud computing. Like, what is cloud computing? How did it emerge? And what role does it play in our today's modern world?
So to begin with the cloud computing, it is basically the service that are available on the internet, like the storage, database, networking, and other aspects like power usage, etc. So the companies and startups can avail it and use on demand, and they can pay as per the resources.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically the roots of the cloud computing are from 1960, where there was an envision idea by Mr. JCR Linkerkid. So he proposed that intergalactic computer network where all the projects or all the websites that are interconnected to each other can be posted on the cloud computing services, or we can say as cloud.
Okay.
Yeah. So in 2000, when the broadband internet took place, the cloud computing also took rise. Actually, so the AWS, that Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and Azure took place, and they became the multi-billionaire companies with the cloud itself. And if you would be knowing, one such OTT platform company which uses cloud extensively, till 2008 they had their own data centers, but they then migrated to a company known as AWS, and now they are extensively using their cloud. This company uses cloud because it is highly scalable, highly resilient, and you can scale up and scale down as per your requirements. There are several aspects, like the servers are scale up and scale down.
Right.
And this is the real world example of cloud computing.
Great. So actually this idea was envisioned in 1960s.
Yeah.
And then in the year 2000, it took off.
Yes.
Great. So Aayush, today a lot of people work in computers. So has your journey been a part of the herd, or was it a passion, or was it your ambition?
Actually, I have been driven by my passion and my curiosity actually. I have been curious about cloud computing and technology computers from my 8th grade actually, when I came close to the languages like Java, C++. During my days, there was a very famous language in our childhood that was BAT language. So we used to create some kind of chatbots in Notepad, and we used to present in front of everyone to seem cool.
Wow.
So after that, a line of maturity came in me, and I got an understanding where a single person can line a impactful code, and this line captivated me.
Great.
Yeah. So after that, I started coding. After that, I felt like if I am that good in coding and if I am working in this field, then it is my duty to give this field back. And so I started working in research, practical projects. So I wrote 2 books about cloud computing.
Great.
And I found a loophole in the whole system. So I started writing the papers as well.
Okay. So when did you first decide to write your first book? Like, how did it come along?
So I decided to write my book in my 3rd year diploma. So I have studied my diploma in computer engineering after 10th grade.
Okay.
To gain some real world practical knowledge. And I came close to cloud computing through my internships actually. So there were very few case studies available on the internet.
Right.
Actually, my mom and dad motivated me to write my first book.
Okay.
So I was thinking of writing a blog. So there are so many components, like you have to be at the SEO top, and you have to be great in the SEO writing and everything, so that your website will be on the number one scale. So I didn't have much time for it. So I started writing a book which had many case studies. So I published my book like this, and the second book which I published was in my third year now. So there was a problem in the education system where you cannot have one consolidated book about cloud computing, like virtualization, microservices, service design, and other case studies. You have to refer several books to be eligible for the exams.
Right.
And it was considered to be as compared to UPSC when we were giving the exam. But the problem I faced during my third year should not be faced by the students who are in second year and who are the rising sophomores or juniors. So I wrote the book and decided that I'll be publishing this book with an reputed publishers.
Right.
So I wrote this book with an enthusiasm.
Wow. So this is really interesting that there were no books available on this subject and you decided to write your own book on this subject. So I remember when we were in college, there were many subjects in computers where like there are no reference books available at all, and especially cloud computing, AI, languages which were just coming up. So at that time there were no books available, and we always used to think that somebody should write this book, but nobody thought I should write it or we should write it. But you were the one student who said that why not, let's write it. So which is really interesting.
Actually, the reason behind it is my parents as well as my father figure to me, who is the dean of our MIT WPU, Mr. Mangesh Bedekar sir,
right,
who helps me throughout my research paper, throughout giving me the ideas sometimes about where I'm going wrong. And this is the most important thing to stop me right there.
Great.
So I think he and my parents are quite important aspect of my life till now. And there is also one professor whose name is Preeti Kale, who also helps me in writing the research paper, and with whom I have collaborated around 2 to 3 research papers now.
Great. It's very interesting to listen to you, Aayush. When you're talking about cloud computing, your eyes lit up with passion talking about this. So you talk a lot about the practical implications of cloud computing. So could you give a specific example of how cloud computing is working in the real world?
So the main case study that I would like to share here is electronic health records.
Okay.
During the COVID times, actually, we all were at home, and we know how much we faced during the COVID-19. So each and every company started working remotely, and also the company's data were also migrated to the cloud.
Right.
Same as the hospitals couldn't afford writing the whole paperwork, and they couldn't handle it. So they continued to migrate to the cloud. This is the one real world example. Also, the second world example would be the Zoom that we all used in the COVID times. Also, we are using now,
Yes.
who the remote workers are. So the Zoom is also video conferencing, cloud computing based video conferencing, to be honest. It has gained a lot of popularity in the COVID times. And also there are various applications that are using the cloud computing, like e-commerce, trading services. If you know, the Nasdaq uses trading services of data analytics of AWS to analyze.
Wow. So it's the buzzword, right?
Yes.
Cloud computing. Like not many people are knowing, but this entire world, the modern world, is running on cloud computing right now.
Absolutely.
So the current hot topic in computers is of course AI and virtual realities. So you also have probed into virtualization in your books.
Yes.
So could you share your insights about the same with our listeners?
So virtualization is a very fundamental topic in the cloud computing. So everything starts from there. Like if I have an operating system, I can bifurcate each and every partition into an virtual machine and dedicate it to each person. So to run the each and every application or operating system on virtual machine.
Right.
So you told about the AI. So we use virtual machines in the AI building process to train and to cultivate, to build the AI applications through the data set. That there are huge data sets in AI application training process. So we can use virtual machines for there.
Great.
In virtual reality, it is quite a different topic. So virtual reality can be used in gaming, and it is an emerging field where I saw a video on one social media application where So there was a construction site there, and the person couldn't visit there.
Right.
Who was the head of the construction site. So there was a 360 camera held by the architect, and so he sent the video to the main head of the construction site, and he received an update about how the construction site is going.
Wow.
So this is the advancement we are going through the technology, and also the AR also is emerging field for education systems. Like I have seen in some of the books, in student books, there are QR codes, and the parents have to just scan it and the video starts.
Right.
On the holographic system like AR. So it is also an emerging field, I can say it. And there are microservices, which is an emerging field after the virtualization. So I have wrote in my book like about virtualization and also the microservices. Microservices is the most emerging field and most the trending field in cloud computing. So what is microservices? Like we used to use monolithic architecture.
Okay.
So monolithic architecture, let's take an example of a building. There are no sections in the building. There is an complete building, and one area gets infected, the whole web system or the web app downtimes or gets down.
Right.
Through microservices, you can bifurcate each and every aspect of that web app, like home, inventory, etc. So if you're working on inventory, the site doesn't downtimes, and you can scale up and scale down with the help of microservices. And this is the whole idea behind microservices. So this is the emerging field in the cloud computing.
Ayush, now that we are talking about cloud computing, AI, and even virtual reality, the most hazardous thing about computers today is that people forget that there is a real world. How do you think that we can maintain the difference between real and virtual world, and why it is important to maintain this for actual development?
Okay, so actually people are getting too much addicted to the computers, and there are several reasons for the addiction to it. Like most of the basic reason for the students to get addicted is ChatGPT now.
Right.
People are not thinking on their own, to be honest, and AI is an tool. Don't make it part of the life.
Great.
And if you're not going outside, you won't be able to solve the real world problems through it. This is my point of view.
Great.
There is also a question on remote work. I am against remote work.
Okay.
So if you're working remotely, your work-life balance get disturbed, and also there is no innovation or there is no specific work time.
Right.
If you're on site or if you're working on site, so there are specific where you're assigned a meeting and you go to the meeting, you speak about innovative things. And if you're not going outside, if you're not working, so your power of thinking or your power of innovating gets disturbed. This is my point of view. So other than using the technology, you should think more vastly and you should read more books. You should reach out to the mentors, students of my age, my colleagues, my friends. Don't listen to the mentors, to be honest, and they think that the AI is more experienced than the mentors.
Right.
If you're not meeting the real world mentors, like I named my dean, who is a real world mentor for me. The AI model is basically trained on the information given. You cannot get experience.
Right.
So how much time you have to spend on the computers, mobiles, it's on yourself.
So this is a great advice for the coming generation. The key takeaway from whatever you said is that it's just a tool at the end of the day. And whatever thinking you have to do it on your own. The real world problems you'll have to solve with your real world mentors. So that's a great advice, Aayush. So we are coming towards the end of our interview. 20 minutes is a very short time for this subject on cloud computing. It's a vast subject. But lastly, I'd like to know what kind of a tech world are we looking at 10 years from now?
The technology we are looking at from 10 years from now is artificial intelligence, which has a vast impact in our lives. Substantially and significantly, it will change our lives. Now, slowly, the humans, the machinery and everything will be controlled by AI. As you can see, the healthcare system is getting too progressive and the operations are being done by the robotic arm.
Yes.
There are self-driving cars, autonomous cars, etc. And also, I'd like to add here the ChatGPT. We are talking about the ChatGPT, but it was built on several GPUs. And I have one advice for young people who are of my age. If you are thinking of building some applications on AI or other things. So I built an application for speaking with PDFs, like chatting with PDFs, etc.
Right.
So in this Google.io, Sundar Pichai proposed that there will be an application, or there will be an inbuilt application where Gemini will be integrated with the PDF. So you can insert the PDF and you can talk with the PDFs.
Oh.
So your startup is one step near closing to their conferences. So
Right.
think about it and build for them, not against them. For young age students, of course. For the corporate world, it is very easy to get the funding from venture capitalists, etc. And also the second point is the Californian gold rush. So who made the money in the Californian gold rush? Everyone was fighting behind the gold, but the person who made the money was selling the shovels. And that is what Nvidia is doing now. So Nvidia is just selling the GPUs and other products also, and it is the most valuable company now.
Right.
So I think students should think about it and make the projects accordingly. And also, we have talked about artificial intelligence. So the second emerging topic and the hot topic now is quantum computing.
Okay.
So basically, quantum computers are working on atomic and subatomic level. Quantum computers is a vast topic actually. So traditional computer works on 0-1 bits and the quantum computer works on qubits.
Okay.
So there is a superpositioning where you can be 0 and 1 at the same time. So it is a vast growing but and very complex and very expensive project till now. So there are only two companies who are vastly in the field of quantum computing, that is Google, Circ, and the IBM Qiskit.
Okay.
They are providing the technology, and also I have wrote a research paper on quantum computing. The people like us who are researchers, so they can provide some kind of services through APIs. So that was my proposed research paper for now.
Oh.
There are several use cases we can add to the quantum computers, like drug discovery, cryptology, and this is really helpful. So the more emerging technologies are beyond 6G.
Okay.
So recently Japan has introduced the 6G. So they are quite ahead of us, but we are mostly closer to getting to the world where there won't be any stoppage of internet and everything will be fast. And also I would like to emphasize on the blockchain technology, where we are building decentralized applications which are more safer than centralized application, and also the edge computing that are extended reality, virtual reality, also the autonomous cars
Right.
that are being more and more. If you have seen the latest news by the China, they are making a flying taxi which is an autonomous car. And we, as an enthusiastic technological researchers, we have to be ahead of technology and we have to solve the problems of people facing the problems.
So, what a tech enriching discussion this has been. Just like any other field, computers are diverse and immensely extensive. But it is important to remember that it is a part of this world and not the world itself. And we thank you, Aayush, for this peek in the field of this engaging aspects of computers. Thank you so much for being here in our studio. Thank you so much for letting us know about your books, and big congratulations to you on your 2 books. Also, best wishes for your future. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to discuss these topics, and I hope your listeners and this conversation was helpful for the youths and everyone.
Definitely, yes. Thank you, Aayush.
Thank you so much.